Welcome to Truth by Billie Beene Flash Update. Today's date, February 28, 2025. Time in Texas, about 2 p.m. President Trump met with Zelensky this morning. It was a mess. But President Trump had in his back pocket an arrest warrant for Zelensky. And tomorrow, March 1, no money for NATO nor illegals. So let's get started. So we have this going on. We have this coming out from Dr. William Alt and Dr. Ed WEIR about Social Security, and this concerns the illegals. Did you know that from Social Security, we had 120 million illegals receiving $10,000 per month, and 60 million of them live outside the U.S. So that's been cut by President Trump and DOJ. And tomorrow, March 1, these illegals will not be receiving this money. And we have a shutdown by many government offices. I think there's 1,200 Social Security offices across the nation. 600 are going to be shut down because they primarily have as employees illegals. How about that? Yep. And President Trump begins cuts at Social Security. And from Dr. William Alt, we have, things going on. So President Trump is taking control and cutting illegals and taking their money away, cutting down on unnecessary government employee offices. Tomorrow, 7,500 U.S. government offices will be closed, and that includes 600 Social Security offices. Now, in an interview this morning, Issues That Matter with Cynthia interviewed Scott Ritter, who brought this information out. And we also have from Hal Turner this morning intel. There was yelling going on in the Oval Office this morning. It was a meeting between President Trump, Vice President J.D. Vance, and Zelensky. Zelensky was yelling at everyone in the room. And from Hal Turner, the meeting was cut short. Yelling was heard in the Oval Office, and suddenly, out of schedule, Zelensky's limousine pulls up in front of the White House. It's speculated that Zelensky was thrown out of the White House. And we have this from Scott Ritter. President Trump has met in the past several days with Macron from France, with Keir Starmer from England, and with Zelensky from Ukraine. Scott Ritter puts forth that none of these individuals are the friend of America, and I will put this forth. During 2024, I had sources and put out this information that Budanov, the intel director under Zelensky in Ukraine, had sent Ukraine assassins to the U.S. to take out President Trump. So that's going on. It's coming out from Scott Ritter that these nations also supported others inside the U.S. to campaign against President Trump and campaign for KH. Scott Ritter describes these European elite leaders as being enemies of the United States of America. And this new information comes out. President Trump could have had Zelensky arrested this morning. I guess President Trump plans on letting that go, possibly to an international court in the future. But the arrest warrant for Zelensky was for his conspiracy, his part in the murder of an American journalist in Ukraine, Gonzalo Lira. President Trump is not the kind of person to cross because he remembers what you've done. And we've had this. Yeah, President Trump had the arrest warrant ready for Zelensky for conspiracy and the murder of American journalist Gonzalo Lira. And we have this mineral deals going on. Scott Ritter describes President Trump as brilliant. This is a unique take on a security guarantee. Rather than troops, it's going to be for minerals and other things of value. An economic deal between the U.S., Russia, and Ukraine. From TFI Global, the European elites. Yes, we see Romania, like Europe, going full stop communist. We saw President Trump's Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, President Trump's Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, and President Trump's Vice President, J.D. Vance, having recent meetings in Europe and in Germany. And in Germany, Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth said to the European Union, you have the defense now of Europe. The U.S. is pulling out of NATO, essentially. That hasn't come forth with a formal cut, but just yesterday, President Trump cut money to NATO. Now we see in Romania, which has the longest border with Ukraine, we see the communists in Europe trying to do away with constitutional elections in Romania, and being the communists that they are, they simply arrested Colin Georgescu, who had been elected by the people legitimately in their election process a few months ago, when the communist Europe told the communist leader in Romania, cancel that, say that's an illegitimate election, and there's going to be another election in the future in May. Well, Colin Georgescu was on his way to file his paperwork for the next May election, widely believed that he would win again, as he is a politician who believes Romania first and no Romanian troops in Ukraine. Well, the communist leaders of Europe, of the EU and Brussels, the current NATO, can't have that, so they arrested him. So TFI Global says the European elites arrest Colin Georgescu. Yeah, they can't have a legitimate leader. They must have a fellow communist in control in Romania. And Georgescu had said of NATO, it's no longer a defensive operation. It has become an offensive military machine. And many analysts would agree with that. So this concludes my flash. Just remember, the communist leaders of Europe and of NATO are not the friends of America, and information is coming out that these communist leaders of the EU and NATO have conspired against the American people, our Constitution, and our elected President Trump. And now it's believed by many in America that these communist leaders of the EU and NATO not only conspired against President Trump to campaign against him and support KH, but were involved in assassination attempts against President Trump. I believe America should withdraw from NATO, no money. I believe, and the new budget that was put in place by the House a few days ago to go to the Senate contains no money in it to go to Ukraine. So no money for weapons, nor to support Ukraine. That's going forth. This concludes my flash. I love you, and I'll see you soon. And it's good to be in prayer for America, the U.S. military, President Trump, and world peace.